We'll do the 30-second mimer in mamorim melukotim in the chelek base, the volume base. This is a unique mimer that we're going to learn, which begins with להבין ענין כתיבת sefer Torah, to understand the idea, the concept of writing a sefer Torah. This was said on Yom Vov, on Friday, Erev Shabbos Kodesh, Parshas Boy Yud Shvat. Yud Shvat was on Shabbos. This was Friday, as the Rebbe said in the Sikha. Will bring it down later. The little bit of the history, what took place, and the Rebbe wanted the siyum, the end of the Sefer Torah. This was a Torah that the previous Rebbe started to write in honor to greet Mashiach Tzidkenu with this Sefer Torah, and the Rebbe concluded the Sefer Torah, the writing of this Sefer Torah on Erev Shabbos Kodesh, on Parshas Bo Yud Shvat, אחרי, which is says clearly after midday, so it should be as close to Yud Shvat as possible, which was on Shabbos in the year Tovshin Lamed. As the Rebbe explains, the significance of writing the Sefer Torah, and we read about the special Torah that was started by the previous Rebbe, and it was a tremendous hisodus at the time to finish that Mashiach Sefer Torah, the Sefer Torah that was written to greet Mashiach, and like I said, it was a unique Farbrengen in which they concluded the Sefer Torah. The Rebbe put on the crown. At that point, the Rebbe put on the crown on the Sefer Torah, and they brought the Sefer Torah into the Oren with dancing, with song, and the Rebbe gave this mimer. So we'll learn the mimer, and later on, at the end of the mimer, we'll go through the skira kitzora, a short overview of what took place that and how this whole Sefer Torah, how it started, and how it ended up being completed at the year in Tovshin Lamed on Friday after midday, as the Rebbe says in the heading. But now let's do the mimer. This mimer was also later on published. This was later on they gave out this mimer before Shavuos. They published it. This was said in Tovshin Lamed, but in close to Shavuos, they ended up publishing it, this mimer, in Tovshin Mem Zayin. And they had a whole booklet which was called the Sim Sefer Torah. So then the publication says that this mimer was said in connection with the completing of the writing of the Sefer Torah to greet the Kabbalah's Pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu, to greet Mashiach Tzidkenu. And as this was said on the Friday, Erev Shabbos Kodesh, Parshas Boy Yud Shvat, and this was said after midday, after midday, Tovshin Lamed. And then it says that as an addendum, there is a short overview about the Sefer Torah that could receive Mashiach Tzidkenu, which is, says it printed, don't know, we have it over here at the end of the mimer. And this was done in the Yimei Hagbolah, Siman Tovshin, Sivon Hei Tovshin Memvov. That is when all this came out. Okay, but let's do the mimer first. And then after the mimer, we'll do this Kira Kitzara. We'll go through the short overview of what took place over there. So the mimer begins, Lahovin Inyan Ksiva Sefer Torah. So understand what is the idea of writing a Sefer Torah. The Rambam writes, "Mitzvahs asay al kol ish veish mi Yisrael lichtev Sefer Torah." That there is a mitzvah for every individual, for every person, every man and man of the Jewish people, to write a Sefer Torah la'atzmai for themselves. Shenemar, that's based on the pasuk, "Ato kisvu lachem as ashira hazois." Pasuk says, "Write for yourself this song." That is a reference. When we say this song, this is a reference to the Sefer Torah, that everybody has a obligation to write a Sefer Torah. And then there is an additional Sefer Torah, which is written by the king. V'hamelech mitzvah olav lichtov Sefer Torah echad la'atzmai. The king has a mitzvah to write for himself a Sefer Torah, l'shem hamelech, for the king. Yeser al Sefer shahoyiloi kshu hadyu. That's in addition to the Sefer that he had when he was an ordinary person before he became a king. Shenemar, because the pasuk says, and it will be that when he will settle on the throne of his kingdom, because of lo yes mishnah Torah zeis v'gomer, so then he will write for himself the double of this Torah, which is the duplicate, the second Torah. It should be with him. He shall read in it all the days of his life. That's the additional Torah that the king wrote after becoming king, this extra Torah in which he would read for the rest of his life. Who was the first one writing a Sefer Torah? Moshe Rabbeinu. That was Moshe, our teacher. Shehu haraya mehemna shel kol Yisrael. He is the faithful shepherd of all Yid. That's Moshe Rabbeinu. So just like we have Moshe Rabbeinu, who is the faithful shepherd of all the Yidden, we also have an extension of Moshe Rabbeinu, the Ispashtusa, the Moshe B'chol Dara V'Dara. And the Ispashtusa of Moshe is in every generation. The Siyim Oisa, when did Moshe Rabbeinu conclude? The Rebbe brings down over here that Moshe Rabbeinu concluded the Torah of Erev Shabbos Kodesh on Friday, the eve of the Holy Shabbos. Kimavur become mekoimes, as explained in many places, as the Rebbe brings down in the note number 10, that Moshe Rabbeinu passed away on the 7th of Adar, that was during Mincha Shabbos. The Rebbe references from the Zohar, the Tur, and various Shulchan Aruch Alter Rebbe, and so we have to say that he finished the writing of the Sefer Torah on Erev Shabbos Kodesh, which was Vav Adar at that time. Shabbos was Zion, this was Vav Adar. And the Rebbe references from Tosfos and also explained in the Sikha, as the Rebbe makes a note over here in the in this Ha'ara 10. There's the note over here is that there is other sources that Rebbe brings down from the Tur and a note on the Ha'ara 10 that there's others that say that he actually did not die at that point. But the Rebbe says in the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, because he brings this down, it seems like that is the case. And also in the previous note, it brings down that the Rebbe distributed this Maimer at an occasion. Everybody got the part of the Kuntras of Kabbalah's Pnei Mashiach. People got in the just looking for what's the place. Let's see. All right. Anyways. It says that this was on Monday night, earlier Gimel, the 28th of Marcheshvan, Tovshinun Beis, is when the Rebbe distributed this Maimer to the people. Okay. In any event, all right. So this aligns with the idea that this seems if Torah was done on Friday. The Rebbe points out that from the different sources, but certainly from the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, even though there are some that disagree, but this is the time that the Sefer Torah was completed by Moshe Rabbeinu, and this coincides with the completion of the Sefer Torah on Friday. And as this Pashtusha, the Moshe B'chol Dora V'Dora, basically the Frierdiker Rebbe's writing of the Sefer Torah, and this also concludes on Friday. So what's the idea of writing the Sefer Torah? Writes about this, the Rebbe the Tzemach Tzedek, She'inyan Ksiva Sefer Torah Yuvon, that we can understand the idea of writing the Sefer Torah, Api Ma'ashem Mevayer Kvet Kedushas Admur Azokin, Be'inyan Vayichtav Moshe, based on what the Alter Rebbe explains in the idea of Vayichtav Moshe. Moshe wrote to Kedul Kamon. Base. Hine Ksiv. Posik says, these are the journeys of the Bnei Yisrael as they went out of the land of Mitzrayim. So the Alter Rebbe in the mamorim that are the Eila Masei, he questions the language, these are the journeys in the plural, is a plural. And then it says, Umisayim Asher Yotzu Me'eretz Mitzrayim, the journeys that they went out of the land of Egypt. Seems like a plural of journeys took place to get out of Mitzrayim. But isn't the exodus of Egypt was only the first when they left, and the first journey? It was the Masesh and Nosu Ramses. Ramses was in Mitzrayim. and they journeyed Lesukkas. That was that one journey from the 42 journeys which took them out of Mitzrayim. So why do we say Maseh did many journeys? So the Alter Rebbe explains in this that all of the 42 journeys until they rested on the other side of the Jordan in Yericho, in the Holy Land. May he be built and prepared very soon through Mashiach Tzidkenu. It all is called that they went out of Mitzrayim. They hasn't fully left Mitzrayim, even though physically the first time they went out of Mitzrayim, but it's all called that they've gone out of Mitzrayim. And by this it says, Vayichtav Moshe, that Moshe wrote as Moitzeehem Lemaseehem, how they were going out to their journeys. And then the pasuk going in, and then the pasuk starts enumerating ve'ela maseyem, and this is the journeys lemoitzaehem as they have left. So that means they're always leaving, but there is a change of lashon over here. Moshe wrote out moitzaehem for their journeys. They're going out for their journeys, and then it says these are the journeys from when they're going out. The Madaik was Alter Rebbe learns and questions and points out over here the tzorich lahavi that we need to understand. When it says Moshe wrote higdim moitzaehem lemaseehem, over there it says first moitzaehem lemaseehem vayichtav Moshe moitzaehem lemaseehem, first moitzaehem and then Lemaseim, and then he switches around the order of Omer ve'Elemaseim, L'Moitzeim, first Maseim, and then Moitzeim. The Alter Rebbe explains, Api Hayindu, based on what it's known, the Tachlis Kavonas Yeridas Haneshama Beguf, that what is the goal of the intention of the neshama to descend into a body. The soul descended from a high rooftop, a very high step, and it ended up into a deep pit, deep pit, so comes from a very high place, the neshama, and it ends up in a very low place in the body. Shehu inyan Mitzrayim the olam, which is considered Mitzrayim of the world, or even minimally, that Bira Mikta is either Mitzrayim of the world, or minimally this is Mitzrayim of Kedusha. What's the purpose? Utzoyrach Aliyah. It's for the purpose of an elevation. The elevation is to such a step which is higher than the place from which the neshama came down. It goes up even to a higher place, as explained in many places. That's the only way we can understand why there was a descent. We have to say that this purpose of the descent is for it to go even higher, because otherwise we don't understand. If it only went back to the place where it came down, then it didn't have to go down. Because we say it's going to a higher place, That's why we understand why there was a descent. Because through this descent, she reaches a step which is higher than the place from where she came down. The masayim, to bring them to the moitzaehem, to where they come from. The masa, the journey that they go through in this world, in this Mitzrayim, brings them lemoitzaehem, to their source. Haliyah milmata l'maylo. That's the elevation from below to above. Libichinas moitzaehem, to the level of moitzaehem. But the introduction, the giving of the strength so that you should be able to go up to the higher level. That Moshe writes down the moitzaehem to the maseim. Hainu, what that means is, write down means he's mamshech. Moshe, who is the faithful shepherd, the faithful shepherd of all Yid in all generations. Kosav, he wrote down. But what does Kosav mean? Kosav really means himshech. Kosav, uksiva, what is the meaning of ksiva? Ksiva means that himshech, kosav, uksiva yona hamshocha. You write it down, that means you draw down. The himshech, and he brought down mibchinas moitzaehem, from the level of moitzaehem, which is the mokar neshamas Yisrael, which is the source of neshamas Yisrael. Moitzaehem, where they come from, the source. Limaseehem, into their journey, b'chinas haneshama amalubeshes beguf, the level of the soul which is dressed up in the guf, in that journeys of the guf, brings down the mitzvah. He says over here, moitzehem, doesn't say, but it says moitzehem, inyonei hu k'moi moitza. It's like the source which goes on its own. The moitza mayim, they were, the water comes from it. I have references from the Kutub. So inyan shenimshach mimenu hu keilu b'derech mimela. The idea is that it doesn't, yitzia means it goes out, and moitza means it's just a sort that it flows on its own. So inyan shenimshach mimenu hu keilu b'derech mimela. The idea is that from there, it's as if it comes automatic. Because when we talk about the love, it is such a step that you cannot say about that level of that from it something flows and there is a change. But the only thing is, it's like automatically. It's a moitza. It's a source from which it comes automatically. And nevertheless, even though there's no direct flow, it's as if it comes on its own. Mishom davke nimshach ha'inyan lamato, from there specifically comes down the idea below. As the pasuk says, "Vayipach ba'apam nishmas chayim." So this was the nishmas chayim came down, Eibishter brings down that Nishmas Chaim into the person, into the body, in Lamata. And we say, Vayipach, Uman de Nofach, Mitoiche Nofach, one who blows from his inside. Mitoiche Yusei, Pnimi Yusei, from his inside and from his inner. We say to Mizu, and even more than just that we're saying that there is Moshe is Mamshich from the place of Moitze'eh. Rebbe is going to say the writing includes also Chasima. The Be'inyan Vayichtav Moshe Nichlal Gam Inyan HaChasima, that in the writing of Moshe, this also includes the Chasima when the signing of it. The Isa B'Gemara, the Pirush, because of Law Sefer Goyber. As the Gemara interprets what it says by the get, he shall write for her. Shaladas Rab Meir, according to the Meir, V'Kosam is V'Kosam. According to Rab Meir, why do we call him Rab Meir? Shenikra came al Shem. The reason we call him Rab Meir, because he enlightens the eyes of the Chacham and Halacha. Because of, and he teaches Rabbi Meir that because of Pirushay V'Chosam, that he signed it. What does it mean over here that Moshe Rabbeinu signed it? I knew Moshe Poal, Moshe affected Inyan HaKsiba v'HaChasima, the idea of the writing and sealing. The Bechinas Moitze'ehem L'Maaseyhem, of the level of Moitze'ehem to come down to Maaseyhem. Al Yidei Zeh Hoya Efsheliyas Achar Kach, then that allowed for later on to be, and V'hoya B'Poyel, and that allowed, and it actually happened. The journeys to their source, the elevation from below to above, as mentioned over here. Explaining this idea, as explained in the above mamorim, we find in the Zoyar shetikun hashvi shebiyut gimel tikunei dikna. The seventh tikun, you have the 13 attributes. Akel, racham, b'chanon, erech, hapayim, v'rav chesed, v'emes. Emes is the tikun, the strand, the tikkun of this number 7, which is Shabiyut Kimul Tikkun Dikna, which is in the 13 strands of the beard. Those are the 13 attributes of mercy. Utikun ve'emes, that's the tikkun. Kel Rachel B'chanon Erech Hapayim V'rav Chesed ve'emes. Emes is the 7th. The Av Shekol Hayud Gimul Tikunei Dikna Nimshochim Milmaylo. Needle say that although all of the 13 Tikunei Dikna, the strands of the beard, come from above, then the order of Ishtauslu is totally B'Hav Yandid. And that is the reason that's why the 13 attributes of mercy, they correct and fix all blemishes. Get a such tshuva, as explained in Get a such tshuva. Yet we call them the strands of the beard, the hairs of the beard. Sad is the dikna. They are called hair of the beard. What is meaning when we say they're a hair of the beard? The inyan hasaidu. What is the idea of a hair? Although a hair nurtures its life force comes from the brain, which is inside of this skull. So while it comes from the moyach, but the oifun hamshochas achayis, how the way the energy, the vitality extends into the here, who al yidei hefsek etzem hagul koilas, that is through the interruption of the bone of the skull. Shezehu inyan tzimtzum otzum b'yosef. This is an idea of a very powerful restriction. A very strong, powerful tzimtzum going through the skull. It's such a tzimtzum. If a person cuts the hair of his head, he will not sense, not feel any pain at all. So the same thing is with the tikkun dikna above Yud Gimel Mitzrach. And the example of this we can understand above. The afal pisha hamshocha shebe b'chinas side is the dikna. He lemailo miseder hayishtalshlus, even though that the hamshocha that is in the level of the hair of the beard is higher and higher than the order of ishtalshlus. But mikol mokaim, but nevertheless, how does it come out? So it comes from a high place, it comes from higher than ishtalshlus. But the way it extends, comes down, it's only in a way of a rage, which comes through a great restriction. We call it ears. It goes through the great tzimtzum. So this is all by all tikkunei dikna. But what happens to the level of emes, the tikkun hashvi? Mash'ei came be tikkun hashvi, the yud gimel tikkunei dikna. In the seventh tikkun, the emes, in the 13th tikkunei dikna, shu tikkun ve'emes, which is the tikkun ve'emes, boy nimshach umizgal ha'oir, in it extends and the light is revealed. Shaloi al yidei tzimtzum de bechinas sidus, not through the restriction of the level of sidus. Asher dugmose b'ha'odom lemato. What would be similar by the human, by the person below? Chelek haponim sidus. That's the section of the face which is clear of here. There's no hair there. As explained in Zohar, that's the seventh tikkun, hamshocha without here. As explained in Zohar. And there's more. Not only does it not go through the level of sidus, there is the shine of the face, which brings out even a higher level. And further, the following, Shalzen Emar, about the face, we say, Chochmas Odom Toir Ponov. The wisdom of man shines up his face. The B'moir Ponov Shalha Odom, in the shine of the face, the light of the face of the person, Niker Achidu Shalaham Shocha HaChadoshim Ibchinas HaChochma. You can tell that novelty of this new hamshocha from the level of Chochma. Like we find the Kamoi, Rababohu, like we find the Rababohu, Shetzohavu Ponov, that his face shined up, lit up. Because he found a new Tosefta, new teaching, it made his face light up. והשינוי שבפניו, and the change that is in the face, ובאופן שגלוי לכל, it is in such a way that it's revealed, everybody sees that his face is shining. Like we find in the Gemara, Gabe Rabbi Yehuda, with regards to Rabbi Yehuda. He also recognized that his face was lit up. Because this wisdom of the person shines up his face, so it's in a giluitic way. So not only is there not sidus there, but there's in a giluitic way you can tell the level of the Tisefta Chadada that shines up, that the Hamshocha Chadosha brought him to a position where he face lights up. Zehu Machilukim. This is some of from the differences. Shabein Hamshocha Shabisidus, that is in between the Hamshocha that's in the ear, Leha Hamshocha Shabefonim, to the Hamshocha which is in the face. The Afal Pi Shahasidus Nimshochim Me'amrichim Shabaroish, even though the sidus extent come from the moichin which is in the head. That's, they come from there, they're nimshach from there. And then later on, when they're already there, they get the chayis. And later on, when there's a here, they get their chayis from the moichin which is the head. To the extent that through this chayis they get from the moichin, that keeps them growing and keeps them getting bigger because of, and still, and yet, what do you see? What is revealed? You see here. You don't see the moichin. You don't see the chayis. The energy that's within the here isn't recognizable. To the extent that such an extent you can't say that also the fact that they do receive the energy that also is unrecognizable in the here. When you look at the here, you don't see the chayis. As opposed to what extends into the face, the chokhmas odom toir pono, the wisdom of the person shines up his face, and that in the face of the person you can tell the chokhmah. That's why this tikkun hazayin is called v'emes. The inyan ha'emes hu she'ein boi shinui. Truth. What is the idea of truth? There's no changes. It's consistent. Ki achidush, because the novelty of the tikkun hazayin v'emes ha'ilui, and the advantage the tikkun zehu she'enoi mishtane, that it doesn't change, it doesn't become a here, it comes as it is. It's not misalim. It doesn't hide al yidei hamshocha, through the hamshocha. Shegam b'yosei nimshach umeir b'gilui, that also when he comes out, it still shines b'gilui. It's open. There is no change. That's why that is v'emes. Ulai yesh loymar. And perhaps we can say this tikun hazayin nikra be'emes. This that the seventh tikun is called the emes. The inyan emes which is truth. The idea of truth is that it doesn't change. Ugam mitzat shorshe is also because of the root of the tikun hazayin. The tikun hazayin, the level from which the Amshocha of the Tikkun Hazayin hi ani havaya leishonisi is the level of ani havaya leishonisi. I Hashem have not changed, and that is the source of this Tikkun Hazayin, and that's why it's the Tikkun of the Emes. Dalet. Hine api hayedua, based on what we know, what is known, that whatever is higher and more higher can extend even lower than lower. Moving, it's understood the tikkun hashvi, that this seventh tikkun ve'emes nimshach beiker lamato. That is mainly that comes down below because it's the highest of the tikkun. It's the tikkun ve'emes, the tikkun of loy shonisi. That's why it comes down in the lowest. Well, and the idea is the true concept that I Hashem have not changed. Is in the essence and whatever less than mahus. That is the essence of Hashem. His existence comes from himself, from his essence. He is not an effect from some cause that comes before him, God forbid. There's nothing before him. His existence is matzmusay. Ki b'hagiluyim shekodma lahem ila v'siba, because in the level of giluyim, which precedes them, is a cause, a reason for them. Ein loymar amiti so'inyan de loishonisi. Over there, you can't say the true idea, concept of no change. Bezeg kufa, because this alone, shekodma lahem ila visiba, that before them comes a cause and a reason that brings them, that alone is already a change. The change is, there's a change between what took place before it extended from the cause and the reason, and at the time that it extends and comes from the cause and the reason, and after it has already been extended from the cause and the reason. So there's all these changes by something, by oides, which have an ilav asiba that precedes them. As opposed to ba'atzmus musi yisbarach, who is not a effect that comes from some cause that comes before the effect. There's nothing before. There is no changes, God forbid. That is amitis ha'inyan dani havaya leishonisi. That's the true idea, the true concept of I Hashem. There's no change, did not change. The inyan zed, this concept of leishonisi nimshach beikir lamata, mainly it extends below. So, like the Mittler Rebbe explains, the fact that the yesh over here below, the entity here in this world, feels himself that his mitzias is from himself. He doesn't feel that somebody is bringing him in. He feels that he comes from himself. And in his feeling, he doesn't feel that there's any cause or any reason that preceded him. Why is that? Is because the yesh lamato's root is from the essence atzmusa musis barach. Shemetziuse hu ma'atzmusa, whose existence is from his atzmai. Ve'ene olu mezi l'shikod melechaz v'sholom, and he's not an effect from any cause that preceded him, God forbid. The amitis hamitzi is the yesh hanibra hu yesh amiti, the true mitzias of the entity that has been created is the yesh, is the true entity, is yesh amiti. Okay, mavur ba'arucha b'dibra maschil mikamoicha lekveit kiddush ad marash, as explained in that Bible. Rebbe brings down, by the way, about this maimer of mikamoicha, that the Rebbe Marash is asher k'fi shegila kveit kidushas meirichoma admur, as my father-in-law, the Rebbe, revealed the kol echad me'arabeim, for each one of the Rebbes, you mamorim kvuim, they had said mamorim asher pam b'shtayim oy b'sholish shonim, that once in every 2 or 3 years, you choizrim aleihem barabim, they would recite it, repeat it publicly, give the mimer publicly. The echad min mamorei chak admur marash, one of the mamorim of the Rebbe Marash, Eila of these maimorim that he would repeat, dibur hamaschil mikamoicha was the maimer of mikamoicha. Also in the hemshech of Maim Rabim of the Rebbe Maharash, be'inyan eid ein eid milvadei, in the idea when it says there is nothing besides Hashem. Noisef al hamevuer sham, in addition to what's explained over there, be'inyan hagodel hagiber chulu. Razal, and our sages of blessed memory say, what is Hagdullah? Zumai Sebratius. So already you have the greatness of creation, which is explained in the Shar Yichud V'Amunah, Shezeh Bo Behemshech Lahamevuar. So, in the beginning, he explains over there, in the beginning of the Hemshech, the Afal Pi Shah Neshama, Leyeredes Lemokim Sheyesh Namayim Rabim, Unahoris Hamavalvul. Although the Neshama descends to a place in which there is many waters, and there is rivers that confuse. And still, Maim Rabim la yuchlu l'chabis as ha'ava unoris leishtafuha, and the many waters cannot extinguish the love, and the rivers cannot overflow it. So that's what he starts off over there in the idea of Godel Hagiber, that the strength of the neshama is such that, notwithstanding its descent, it cannot be over flooded or confused and extinguished that love. So in addition to this, he explains over there, what is the idea of Ein Eid Milvadei? The Avsha Oilam Hu Mitzias, that even though, so there's one thing that you don't allow for the Naharis and other things to be mavalvul you and to confuse you and detract you from it. But here he's saying even more, that even though the world is a Mitzias, because then still Amitis in Yonei Hu Elikus, the true matter is godliness. V'davke lemato nira inyan zeh. Where could you see that your true Metzius is godliness? This is Dafke below. Kimevuar Shom Baruch has explained over there at length that here in the Dafke in the Yesh Lamata you see the true godliness. Similar, it also explains in the mamorim the Rebbe Rashab that it's specifically below in this world, Nirav and Nigla, it is visible and revealed how there is no comparison to Hashem. And that through this, on the Yodim, through this, what we are revealed in Olam Hazeh Narech, we also know that also the upper worlds have no comparison relative to Atzmos. That when we say Ein Eid Milvadei, where is this revelation? Where is that Gilui? Can you sense that? That's Dafki over here in Elam, in this one.